An economic war is brewing in the American West. And no, it's not over water this time. It's over gasoline. California's aggressive climate policies are pushing its own oil refineries to the brink, threatening to cut off the economic lifeline to its neighbor, Nevada, which depends on California for almost all of its fuel. But Nevada isn't just sitting back and waiting for the pumps to run dry. It's fighting back, creating a high-stakes showdown between two governors with two very different visions for the future. California's policies were about to slash the fuel supply that Nevada relies on for nearly everything. So, when Nevada started looking for a way out, Governor Newsom's office didn't just issue a statement. Their response was far more complex, a series of regulatory maneuvers and public reassurances that have escalated the economic Cold War between the states. We're breaking down the moves you haven't heard about, what they signal about California's real plan, and what it all means for the price you pay at the pump. To really get this conflict, you have to understand just how vulnerable California has made its neighbors. For decades, Nevada has built its entire economy, from the glittering lights of Vegas to its massive logistics hubs, on a simple promise: the fuel will always flow from California. Almost every drop of gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel comes from California pipelines. With no major refineries and limited storage of its own, Nevada built its growth on the assumption that California would always be a reliable supplier. Then, that assumption evaporated. First, in October 2025, Phillips 66 shut down its Los Angeles refinery, citing the tough regulatory climate. Then, Valero announced it would idle most units at its Benicia refinery by April 2026. Together, these two moves are set to wipe out around 284,000 barrels of oil production per day. That's roughly 17% of California's entire refining capacity. For Nevada, this wasn't some distant problem. It was an existential threat. The state gets about 88% of its fuel from California. Leaders in both Nevada and Arizona saw a catastrophe on the horizon. In a rare bipartisan move, Nevada's Republican Governor Joe Lombardo and Arizona's then Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs sent a joint letter to California Governor Gavin Newsom. They warned that his policies were on the verge of causing severe economic disruption for their states, even quoting Newsom's own Energy Commission, which admitted new rules could artificially create shortages in downstream markets. Downstream means them. The message was clear: your choices are about to hurt our people. Facing a potential economic meltdown, Nevada decided it could no longer tie its fate to California's political agenda. Governor Lombardo declared that energy security is a matter of homeland security, and that waiting for the fuel disruptions to hit was waiting too long. And this wasn't just talk. In January 2026, he took action, forming the Nevada Fuel Resiliency Committee. This wasn't just a task force for show. Lombardo brought everyone to the table: state agencies, transportation authorities, and a who's who of energy giants. Companies like H.F. Sinclair, Kinder Morgan, Chevron, and Phillips 66 were involved. The goal was unmistakable: find a way to break the state's crippling dependence on California, and do it fast. The committee is already exploring concrete infrastructure projects. One of the main proposals is to expand existing pipelines from the east. H.F. Sinclair is looking at a major expansion of its UNEV pipeline, which already brings some fuel from Utah. Other, even more ambitious phases are being evaluated, like building a brand new pipeline to Reno, which currently gets its fuel from only one pipeline out of the Bay Area. These are long-term plays with timelines stretching to 2028 or beyond. But the message couldn't be clearer. Nevada is officially charting its own course. It's building new energy alliances with states like Utah, creating an entirely new energy map for the West that bypasses California. For the first time, Nevada is taking control of its own fuel destiny. So, how did California and Governor Newsom respond to this direct challenge to their energy dominance? Not with a public negotiation. Not with an apology. Instead of hitting the panic button, Governor Newsom's administration publicly spun the news as a positive. When Valero confirmed it would idle its refinery but continue to supply the market with imported gasoline, Newsom's office put out a statement praising the plan for helping to maintain stable supply and prices. This wasn't a dismissal of the problem. It was a calculated pivot. Behind the scenes, California's response has been a flurry of activity, not to reverse course, but to manage the fallout. The state has reportedly been in negotiations to find buyers or incentivize different outcomes for the refineries. Rather than deafening silence, the strategy appears to be a managed decline of in-state refining, replaced by a growing reliance on foreign imports. This is the core of California's new reality. It is transforming into an energy island. While Nevada and Arizona scramble for pipeline solutions, California is fighting lawsuits to block oil pipeline projects, while simultaneously becoming more dependent on gasoline imported from countries like India and the UK. The state's response isn't inaction, it's a strategic shift. By embracing imports, California sends a message. The shutdown of our refineries is part of the plan, and the economic pain of our neighbors is a problem they'll have to solve. While Governor Lombardo is building a coalition for energy independence, Governor Newsom is presiding over an agenda that outsources its fuel production. The response is to let the market forces his policies have unleashed play out, no matter the consequences for the millions living downstream. So what does this strategic pivot and escalating friction actually mean for you? It means higher prices and more uncertainty, and not just if you live in Nevada. For Nevadans, the squeeze is coming. Experts warn that even with proactive measures, the state will feel the impact of tightening supplies from California. Projections for price hikes vary, but a significant increase seems unavoidable. Nevada already has some of the highest gas prices in the nation, thanks to its dependence on the expensive California market. That pain will only intensify, affecting everything from your commute to the price of groceries. Arizona, which gets over a third of its fuel from California, is in a similarly precarious position. But here's the twist. The architect of this crisis, California, is far from immune. Californians are already paying a fortune at the pump. As their in-state refining capacity disappears, the state will need to import up to 30% of its gasoline by 2026. This reliance on foreign tankers from places like Saudi Arabia and Iraq often carries a much higher carbon footprint than domestic production. So, in the name of its climate goals, California is effectively outsourcing its pollution while driving up costs for its own citizens and destabilizing its neighbors. This is the endgame of California's policy. A fragile, isolated energy market with the highest prices in the nation, all while disrupting the economy of the entire Southwest. What we're witnessing is more than a simple dispute over gas prices. It's a fundamental clash of ideologies playing out across state lines. California's government knowingly created a regional supply crisis with its policies. In response, Nevada, under Governor Lombardo, took a pragmatic step toward self-preservation by seeking new energy partners. And California's response, under Governor Newsom, was to manage rather than reverse the crisis, signaling a willingness to go it alone regardless of the regional consequences. This isn't just a story about two states. It's a warning shot for the future of the American economy. As states pursue vastly different political agendas, we may see more of these regional conflicts where one state's policies hold another's economy hostage. Nevada's move to build new energy infrastructure is a declaration of independence. California's calculated pivot to imports is a declaration that it's willing to let them try. The question now is, who will ultimately pay the price?